Sometime in the spring of 2024, a young man in Ghaziabad pointed a phone at a road and pressed record. He wasn't a trained agent. He had no handler in the room. He had no ideology. He had a contact number saved under a fake name and a promise of cash. That footage, taken near one of India's most sensitive military zones, was moving toward Islamabad within hours, and nobody knew. Not yet. This is not a story about a single spy. It's about a system, a method Pakistan's inner services intelligence has been running inside India for years, quietly, cheaply, efficiently, recruiting ordinary people, lawyers, YouTubers, teenagers, clothes sellers. And for a long time, it worked. Then India figured out how they were doing it. And what happened next, almost nobody is talking about. To understand what India dismantled, you need to understand what Pakistan actually built. You've been told ISI runs classic Cold War espionage, dead drops, trained officers, embassy covers. That's wrong. Or rather, that's incomplete. ISI shifted its recruitment model sometime around 2018. The new model was built on economic vulnerability, not ideology, not religion, not nationalism. Money. Specifically, small amounts of money paid to people who needed it. Young men from economically weaker backgrounds, social media users with followings, people who could travel, film, and blend in. The genius of the design was its invisibility. A teenager with a phone outside a cantonment looks like 100 other teenagers. A lawyer with a Hawala account looks like 100 other lawyers. The operation didn't look like espionage, it looked like ordinary life. The geography of what ISI built is important. This wasn't concentrated in one city or one border state. Arrests came out of Uttar Pradesh, Punjab, Haryana, Gujarat, Odisha, Jammu and Kashmir, Rajasthan. 19 individuals were eventually arrested across multiple operations, including social media influencers and active YouTubers, a practicing lawyer in one state, 2 men in Kupwara who spent months traveling through Arunachal Pradesh as clothes sellers, mapping army movement patterns the entire time. In Pathankot, a minor recruited via ISI contact, transmitting defense information on pen drives. Let that sit for a moment. Pakistan's intelligence apparatus had reached so deep into India's civilian population that it was recruiting children. The recruitment pipeline ran almost entirely through social media. ISI handlers would identify targets on platforms, build trust over weeks or months, and then make an offer. The offers varied. Cash payments via digital wallets, cryptocurrency transfers, bank accounts set up specifically to receive funds routed through Dubai. In some cases, the offer wasn't money at all. It was a relationship, a handler posing as a woman, a friendship that slowly became something else. Former Pakistani intelligence personnel have confirmed that honey trap recruitment was systematic, not opportunistic. One naval source was handled this way for 3 full years before Indian intelligence connected the threads. 3 years. The network had patience, and that patience was its greatest tactical asset. The financial trails were deliberately obscured through multiple mechanisms. Cryptocurrency meant no direct banking records. Digital wallets left encrypted transaction histories. Hawala operators worked in networks that had existed long before any formal intelligence coordination. A payment made in Delhi could be received in Ghaziabad under a different account holder's name. The system had inherent redundancy and operational depth. Each operator knew only their immediate contacts in the chain. No single arrest could expose the entire payment network without specific counterintelligence focus. ISI had compartmentalized not just the operatives, but the financial infrastructure itself. What moved toward Islamabad was engineered to be untraceable. This assumption of safety would prove to be its critical vulnerability. Here is where the story starts to shift. A routine Arms Act investigation in Bhawapur, Ghaziabad. Local police noticed a group of young men filming public spaces. Odd behavior, vague enough to ignore. They didn't ignore it. One phone number was placed under surveillance. What came back wasn't a petty criminal. It was a network. Suhail Malik, Ritik Gangwar, Sain Iram, Raj Valmiki, Shiva Valmiki, Praveen. Different religions, different backgrounds. No one fitting any conventional profile of a trained foreign agent. That was the point. ISI had built a cell that would pass any routine screening because it was designed to look like nothing. Local police, not national intelligence, cracked it open. That detail matters enormously. The surveillance camera network was something different entirely. This wasn't human intelligence. This was infrastructure. Indian security officials dismantled an alleged espionage network that had physically installed Chinese-made cameras near military installations across multiple states: Kapurthala, Jalandhar, Pathankot, Patiala, Moga, Ambala, Kathua, Bikaner, Alwar. Each device used a SIM card procured under a false identity. Each device transmitted live footage through a mobile application. A handler operating under the codename Captain Rana supervised the network remotely. A Dubai-based Indian national ran the installation effort on the ground. The disclosed intent was direct: precision targeting of Indian defense infrastructure in the event of a future conflict. This wasn't espionage for information, it was pre-positioning for war. One camera at Delhi Cantonment ran for the better part of a year before it was found. Delhi Cantonment, the zone containing Army headquarters. A solar-powered device transmitting continuously, completely undetected for months. Think about what that means. ISI had a live feed from one of the most sensitive military addresses in India. Not intercepted communications, not a recruited source inside. A camera on a wall powered by the sun streaming footage to Pakistan. The solar panel meant it never needed servicing. Nobody had to go back to it. Nobody had to risk exposure. It just sat there and watched. Then came Operation Sindoor and everything accelerated. After India's military strikes in 2025, Pakistani-linked cyber groups launched 1.5 million attacks on Indian critical infrastructure. APT-36 was among the groups involved. The failure rate was above 99%. That number sounds reassuring. It isn't. A 99% failure rate against 1.5 million attempts means roughly 15,000 successful intrusions, and the timing was not coincidental. ISI increased its recruitment activity during this exact window. A former Pakistani sub-inspector turned YouTuber was actively tasked with cultivating Indian influencers who had visited Pakistan, connecting them quietly to high commission officials. The espionage push coincided precisely with military pressure. That's a pattern, not panic. Doctrine. India's counterintelligence architecture had been quietly evolving for years before any of this became public. The shift was structural. National intelligence increasingly relied on frontline local policing as its first detection layer. That Ghaziabad Arms Act investigation is the clearest example. A constable noticed something slightly wrong. He didn't dismiss it. The chain of alertness that ran from that moment to a dismantled ISI cell is not an accident. It's a designed system. Financial intelligence became equally central. The Hawala networks funding ground-level operatives could be tracked. Digital wallet transfers left records. Cryptocurrency platforms had patterns. The money was the thread. Pull the money and the network follows. What India exposed, case by case, was the full architecture of Pakistan's hybrid intelligence model: human assets recruited through economic desperation, technical infrastructure installed by local hands for plausible deniability, cyber operations timed to military events, narrative manipulation run through social media influencers. Each layer was designed to be deniable, each layer was designed to be invisible, and each layer got found. The ISI strategy assumed that India's security apparatus would remain focused on traditional threat profiles: trained agents, embassy contacts, military defectors. It did not account for a system that noticed a teenager filming a road in Ghaziabad and kept pulling until the whole network surfaced. Here is what the full picture looks like when you assemble it. Pakistan's ISI ran an espionage operation inside India that was genuinely sophisticated. It penetrated civilian life, military zones, digital infrastructure, and media ecosystems simultaneously. It recruited across 5 states and multiple demographics. It installed cameras near Army headquarters and ran them on solar power for a year. It came within reach of real, actionable intelligence that could have changed targeting calculations in a conflict. And India found it, not through a single dramatic catch, through financial surveillance, local policing, communication intercepts, and the slow, patient work of connecting unrelated arrests across different agencies in different states. The network that ISI believed was invisible had been watched for longer than ISI knew. That is the real operation, not the arrests, the watching.